Well, thank you very much for that lovely introduction, and thank you all for being present here to listen to the very controversial issue of immigration in the United States. As most of you have been listening to the news these days, immigration is clearly one of the forefront issues in the presidential debates that have been happening in the last several months. Every day I wake up and I'm listening to NPR, and the media always has a story on some aspect of immigration, whether it is the raids that have been occurring throughout the United States in the arrests of hundreds of individuals and the impact on families, or the introduction of ordinances. Since April of 2006, there has been an inordinate number of ordinances passed throughout the United States that have tried to impact immigrants residing in communities. Local government officials are attempting to deal with the immigration issue by enacting ordinances that would punish people who employ immigrants who don't have the appropriate documentation, or landowners who rent to individuals who don't have the appropriate documentation. The ordinances have met with mixed success, meaning some of them have passed and others have been defeated. And the ordinances are really trying to force the federal government to take on this issue because as an attorney, what I was told repeatedly, not only during law school, but in litigating the cases that we have litigated, is Congress has plenary power over immigration issues, which means only Congress has the authority to determine who comes into the United States and how they come into the United States. And because Congress has not been able to address this issue at all, local communities have, with their frustration and frankly with misinformation, have been trying to address the issue at the local level. And the federal courts, for the most part, if the ordinances have passed, have struck down the ordinances for the reasons that I just mentioned. Congress is the only entity in our government system that has the authority to make these decisions. And we here in Alaska are not immune to this. Here in Anchorage, the Anchorage Assembly recently had to decide whether a local ordinance introduced by Assemblymember Paul Bauer would give the authority of all municipal employees to check the immigration status of all individuals, including me, for accessing any service in our municipality. A lot of the attention was focused on the police department and what would happen when people had contact with local law enforcement in the streets of our cities. Fortunately, the Anchorage Assembly decided to postpone that legislation, and it was not adopted. Having worked with immigrants and refugees in Alaska since 1994, it feels really imperative that we here in the United States have a more sophisticated dialogue about immigration and understand the reasons people are choosing to come to our country, and also really analyze the impacts immigrants have on our community in regard to accessing public assistance benefits and the impact on our economy. Instead, the tenor of our national conversation is creating hate and fear. Yesterday, I received a fax at my office stating that all illegal Mexicans needed to be terminated. Prior to receiving the fax, I had been contemplating sharing statistical and factual information about the reasons immigrants are coming to the United States, because I believe that if we as a community had better information about the reasons that immigrants are journeying to our community and better understood the wonderful contributions that they make to our community, that we could truly begin a dialogue about how to respond to immigration issues here in the United States.